Hi, I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. Just look at this beautiful, lovely quilt behind me, made with the 2016 Regent Street lawns from Moda Fabrics. Now, if you're not familiar with what lawn cotton is, it's actually a weight of fabric. It's a lighter weight fabric that's ideal for summer dresses, anything that is just kind of a lighter weight. It just is a fresh, lighter weight. So, in the wintertime here in North Idaho, I don't want a lawn cotton. I want wool, I want flannel, I want warmth. But in the middle of the hot summer, the lawn cottons are ideal. And isn't this just a beautiful quilt? We married up that beautiful collection with Marty Michelle's wonderful one patch templates. It's a 60-degree diamond, and I'm going to show you today how to make this quilt. It's available as a kit, and it goes together surprisingly quick, and I'll show you how. I'm using a spinning mat today. You'll see why that's so helpful. I'm going to be using the full outside portion of this template, but do note all these lines. You could get as small as a 2-inch diamond all the way up to a 4.5-inch diamond. And when I talk about inches, I'm talking about the strip width, not the distance from point to point, because that's certainly longer than let's see, your longest diamond is over 5 inches point to point, left to right. But this template makes multiple different sizes of diamonds, so you can really get whatever size quilt you want out of that, whatever size diamond you want out of that. Now today I'll be using a layer cake. That's what I used for this project because I wanted a big variety of fabric. Now out of one layer cake, if you're going to be using the full template, I was able to get 3 strips. Now, in this particular quilt, we had a lot left over to make even maybe a smaller quilt. So I think you could probably make as big as a twin, maybe even a full out of one layer cake. And of course, you need quite a bit of the yardage that's in between each of the what I call kind of diamonds or jewels. So the first thing you want to do with this is, as you would expect, you're just going to cut around it. Now, to save time, you could either cut single, or you could stack up multiple layer cakes, or even take one layer cake and simply fold it in half. Let's do that. And I'm just going to begin cutting around that. I'm going to get my glasses on, and you're going to see why the spinning mat is so helpful, is you don't have to disturb your piece. If I wasn't on a spinning mat, let's just play this out. If I wasn't on a spinning mat, this cut and this cut is fine, but this is just dangerous and it shouldn't be done. And if you don't have a spinning mat, now you're rotating your fabric, rotating your template, things become a little bit, they shift, and you don't want that. So let's take advantage of this technology, and we're going to use our spinning mat today. And I'm just pressing down. Now I want to mention one more thing before I cut. Marty's templates come with this paper backing, and it will peel off. I mean, I'm just going to start peeling it off here. But what I do find is the template can be just a little bit slippery on my fabric. So unless you have a reason to take that off, maybe you're going to fussy cut, you want a very specific floral motif that you maybe can't see unless that paper was removed, leave the paper on. It just gives you a little bit more grip. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just start cutting. Notice how Marty's templates have this beautiful engineered corner. Doesn't come to a point, but it's rather blunt there. You'll see shortly why that is so handy. Just cut that away. Love this spinning mat. I have to admit that I was one of those people that would cut under my arm thinking, I'm going to be okay. And I definitely nicked my arm one day, and I would have been kind of very nervous about doing that ever since, and I bought myself a spinning mat. So don't even be tempted. Just get it and get it over with. So now I've got that ready to go. And then with this, you'd simply open this up, place that along the lines you just cut, and you'd be able to get your next one. So you get the idea. You just continue cutting. You can get 3 out of each layer cake square. Let me tell you about the download. Go to the Shabby Fabrics homepage. At the very bottom, there'll be a link that says free downloads. You're going to look for the 60-degree diamond quilt. Again, 60-degree diamond quilt. 2 pages here. One's going to show you how everything lays out, and then at the very end, how you finish up the quilt, which we'll get to shortly. So once that's downloaded, it shows you how we have a diagonal piecing of the rows coming together. But what I want to show you is how these beautiful engineered corners, how clipping those points and how Marty and Michelle's templates make this so accurate. So once you lay everything out, we just got, I don't have a design board at home, so we just kind of laid everything out on the floor. You lay things out, and again, you're working in these diagonal rows, right? With your creams, every other one. Oh, that one's got a little bend in it. We'll put that there. You get the idea. Lay everything out. Make sure you love it. Boy, these lawn cottons are so soft. They're just like butter. I love them. So you're going to lay everything out just like this diagram shows you. Once you're sure of that placement, you'll be now piecing things down in these diagonal rows. So let's go with this one. I'll just do 3 here and 3 here. The engineered corners make this an absolute no-brainer. You will simply bring this right side together like this, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam. Let's do that real quick together. Like that. And I like to press my seams open. I know in most other quilting things I'm telling you to press your seams to one side or the other, but with this particular the 60-degree diamond, I found more success pressing my seam open. Therefore, you might want to have a slightly shorter stitch length, just so there's a little more threads per inch, so when you open that seam up, which can weaken seams slightly, you just have a little more thread holding everything together. Now, of course, I would sew this to this and just continue on my diagonal rows. Again, that's what the layout is showing here. Same here. Once I have my rows sewn together, I've got 2 here. This is where I want to point this out. Now, don't think you know what to do, because I thought I knew what to do, and I ended up being off on my rows by 1/4 inch. What I thought I was supposed to do is, of course, aren't I supposed to just line up this point and put them right side together and sew them together, right? That seems logical to me. This point and this point, we're always lining up points. The problem was when I sewed that together and I laid it open, they ended up being off. They actually end up looking like this. So diamonds are a little bit different. What that means is, you see this little flap here. That's going to line up with that point. You have to offset this. Now, notice this. Notice something. Let me flip this over so it's easier for you to see. Notice how that engineered corner just nestles right into that upper portion right there. See that? That is not a coincidence. That is part of the amazing engineering that Marty Michelle has put into her product, so that you do line that up just like that. But I still want to point out how these will not come together, but rather they will crisscross and overlap by 1/4 inch. And my visual marker is that seam allowance that's pressed open. The tip of that will be lined up with that seam right there. All right, and I'm going to put a pin there, and we're going to sew that, and we're going to check ourselves and make sure we're exactly where we want that to be. And if it's not where you want it to be, you just seam rip. Just keep in mind the lawn cottons are very light. You have to be very gentle with them. All right, now down here again, right, we're overlapping by that 1/4 inch, But look at this. Look how my engineer corner again just kind of nestles into that triangle down there. I want you to see that. Let's put a pin, but I want to check that point and make sure the tip of that pressed open seam allowance is right at that seam that's on the back side. And we're going to take this to the sewing machine and let's do this. Let's press this. Sew it and press it. Here we go. When I use lawn cottons, I like to use a little bit of a lighter weight thread, a finer needle, because the fabric is a little bit finer. I'm using a 50 weight cotton from Superior Threads, 75 gorgeous colors. It glides beautifully into the fabric. And I don't rush this step. This is where stuff can go wrong. So I'm going to check myself one more time. Make sure that's where I want to be. Okay. So I like to press things open, just like when I join the diamonds together, I press things open again. So let's do that. And I think we're exactly where we want to be, and that's a beautiful thing. Let's look and see how we did. Let's see how we did. I think we did a good job. Okay, so obviously the rows will be much longer. Well, this could be kind of one of these upper sections now, couldn't it be? That's kind of the upper section. You will continue piecing everything together in these long diagonal rows, and then your quilt will look like this. You'll actually have the diamonds kind of projecting upwards and downwards and off to the side. That's when you're like, how do I finish this quilt? Right? It just kind of keeps going. Unlike other quilts where once you have the piecing done, you just put on, basically quilt it and put on a binding. Here you have to trim off the diamonds. What you will do at that point is, just like we show here, is you find the tips of those diamonds, like the tip here, measure a 1/4 inch above that, lay your long ruler out. Let's see, I've got a long ruler. Here, you'd basically, just like this. That's the tip of my diamonds. I'm gonna measure over a 1/4 inch, and then I'm gonna trim off those diamonds. And you're gonna do that all along all 4 sides of the quilt. Then you'll go ahead and have it quilted and bound. So be sure to get this wonderful one patch templates from Marty Michelle. This is just one of the wonderful projects that you can make with this template. The book also includes extra projects, so be sure to pick that up.